For my mini lecture video, I chose Philip Levine, My Father with Cigarettes 12 Years Before the Nazi Could Break His Heart. I thought this poem utilized aspects of private history and public history greatly by demonstrating how war affects family life. So, in Levine's My Father, the poem touches on effects of war in relation to his family. It focuses on World War II and the perspective of his family. Levine combines both personal and historical side, which results in intersecting both public and private history. So, to begin, let's start by examining the public histories aspect. So I cited this quote. Everything tells you this is a preface to something important, the Second World War, the news that leaked back from Poland that the villages were gone. So I chose this quote due to how in his poem it showcased the historical side through the imagery of newspaper and hearing news from Poland in relation to World War II. So Levine, he emphasizes the importance of this event by describing it as a preface, meaning a beginning. So Levine, he introduces this public history topic of how it affects people and by acknowledging the conflict that the war caused. Its impact had on his family through trauma experienced from it due to the social issues in the Holocaust. It also ties into the title, especially about his father's heart being broken and it describing the memories that led to the heartbreak. So I cited this quote from the poem too. The cigarette burning still dangerously, a Yiddish paper folded into the right places, so that a photograph of Hindenburg in full military regalia swims up to you out of all the details we live. So he's like, the way I interpret it, he's describing this memory and connecting his father of it, of like seeing this new paper and the military starting to get involved. So it's giving him flashback of those memories and everything that came up with it. And so as we start to transition to the private history area of the poem, we get to see more of his father's memories through the details of his smoking habit in the interior of the house. So I chose this from the poem to describe my interpretation. I remember the room in which he held a kitchen match with his thumbnails and commanded it to flame. A brown sofa, two easy chairs, one covered with flowers, a black piano. No one ever played half, covered by a long fringed ornamental scarf Ray Estrada brought back from Mexico in 1931. And moving on to another personal line about his father, this quote, it describes his father exiting, and it does seem kind of suspenseful as you wonder why his father is leaving. So it says, my father rises now and goes to the closet. It's as if someone were directing a play. And my father's part called for him to stand so the audience, which must be you, could see him in the white shirt, dark trousers, held up by suspender, a sign of the time, and concluded he is taller than his son will ever be. As he dips into his jacket, you know his rose calls for him to exit. So this is you as the reader, you sort of question why is his father leaving? Is it due to the war? Is it due to a related circumstance of it? And another personal example in Levine's poem would be the quote related to his grandmother in his poem. So here is where you start to see the personal, the private and the public history come together as he cites like a historical moment, such as in everything tells you he never came back, though he did before he didn't. Everything suggests it was the year Hitler came to power, the year my grandmother learned to read English novel and fell in love with David Copperfield and Oliver Twist, which she read to me seated on a stool beside my bed until I fell asleep. So he's connecting like this childhood memory to this historical moment of Hitler coming to power, and his grandma's perspective too, how she was learning to read English novels. So in that area of the poem, that's where I see all of the aspects start to emerge together. So one of the questions I'll be answering is, how does this poet work, unravel, challenge, or complicate historical narrative? So Levine's poem brings awareness to the effects of trauma from war and anti-Semitism. Citing from the Poetry Foundation, Philip Levine is from a family of Russian Jewish immigrants. So I interpreted his poem as unraveling and demonstrating how the political public history affects the personal private history in consideration of his background. From my interpretation of the poem, that his father experienced mental health trauma due to the social issues within from the war and the Holocaust. And then I also included this quote from the Poetry Foundation in relation to him. His heroes were not only those individuals who struggled against fascism, but also ordinary folks who worked at hopeless jobs simply to stave off poverty. And in terms of how both of these themes intersect, how does the historical register add another layer of meaning to this poet pirate history? So, the World War II context of Levine's poem demonstrates the impact it had on Levine's family. He includes other family members, such as his grandmother, and notes how 60 years went by. This poem describes the generational impact and demonstrates how public history can affect personal lives. And the quote is, describing the 60 years one is, "Oh, you're still here 60 years later. You wonder what became of us, why someone put it in a book and left the book open to a page no one reads." It made me wonder if you meant an audience of the future or someone learning a family history, or if it's about historical awareness. I think this, considering the public history aspect of this, and could fall into many of those categories. And so, thank you very much.